The following Vox recording is the truth of the events that occurred on the planet Formid. Though the preachers on the Imperial worlds won't admit it, the arch-enemy is gaining power, and only through the truth can we understand how to beat them once and for all. Weaker minds watching this might give in to despair, so only those with the correct access should be able to view this. If you are not at the correct rank or have viewed this by accident, please hand yourself in to the nearest guard post on the account of heresy immediately. 1 year ago, a colossal space hulk was discovered in deep space. What made this special was that we discovered there was a weapon inside, a weapon powerful enough that would turn the tide in the war. We fought with the alien, the mutant, and the heretic, but in the end, we were defeated. The arch-enemy reached the prize first, being led by the traitor Primarch Mortarion. We didn't know at the time, but the power Mortarion found gave him and his legion the ability to control the warp itself, effectively cutting off planets from the Imperium, cutting off their supplies and potential reinforcements. This would bring his unsightly gaze to the planet Formid. Formid is a fortress world and one of our most vital planets in repelling possible invasion. Before now, an attack would never be imagined due to the sheer losses that would happen if an attack would occur. The city of Bellator is fitted with thousands of Mach guns capable of hitting ships in the planet's orbit. Plus, the planet has a strong, ever-present representation of the Imperial Guard led by General Yarrick. The planet is also important to passing Imperial ships due to the ice rigs of the north. Gigantic factories are constantly at work breaking continent-sized sheets of ice to be transported onto ships to give them enough drinking water for their galactic voyage. Losing this world would be a grievous blow indeed. Fortunately, due to intel, the planet was able to broadcast an emergency signal for allies to help defend the impending attack. From the Adeptus Mechanicus to Space Marine legions being led by the Primarch Lionel Johnson, the Imperial forces would plan and prepare for the assault that would soon approach. On the other side, War Master sent by Mortarion would plan their attack to take and conquer the planet. They would attack the planet's infrastructure and aim to blitz the city to try and take the city early in their conquest. When the War Master appeared, their huge fleet arrived, and perhaps due to the super weapon, with part of the wreckage from the final assurance, which went on a collision course with the planet's surface. Thankfully for Yarrick and his forces, this landed in the far west of the planet's surface, far away from the city. The Night Lord Legion would advance into the city. Their terror tactics would be valuable to the war efforts, and an early capture of the city would surely mean the fall of the planet itself. What the Night Lords found, however, was absolutely nothing. The streets were empty, shops abandoned, and the streets silent. The reality, however, was a bold move by General Yarrick as he ordered the civilians to leave the outer city and retreat further to the center with a swift death to those who would refuse. He ordered the AdMech to wait in ambush for the forces that would attack the city outskirts. The ambush was a success. As soon as the Night Lords let their guard down, was as soon as a volley of arc rifle fire torrented into the Legion's forces, striking terror into their forces and beating them at their own game. The Night Lord Terminators proved difficult, however, and would be much more stubborn to deal with, pushing ever further into the city, destroying the forces in their path. The AdMech's prior attack proved too effective and would result in the Night Lords fleeing from their initial assault. The strategy proved sound, as if the Night Lords continued their assault, they might well have been successful, and that would have meant a quick victory for the arch-enemy. The AdMech forces would then move to the city's Mach cannons, blessing them in the name of the Omnissiah and aiming the cannons at the chaotic planetary forces. In doing so, the cannons successfully hit all of the arch-enemy's forces without hitting any of their Imperial allies. The War Master's Nurgle forces were sent next to the planet's abundant forest in order to spread their plague, which would result in the destruction of the planet's agriculture, and with the removal of reinforcements would put the planet on a deadly countdown before they would run out of food and eventually succumb to plague. Now, what turned out to be dumb luck on the side of the Imperials was that when they originally broadcasted for help before the warp cut them off, the broadcast was also heard from an Orc war tribe, which saw this as an invitation. The Orcs and Nurgle demons would clash in a vicious battle, but no matter how hard the Nurgle forces hit, the Orcs would hit harder and were more in number. The Plague Lord was able to withstand assault after assault from the Orcs and would even destroy the war tribe's kill rig, slowing down the Green Tide's advance. But Modsrog single-handedly faced the Nurgle's soul grinder and on his great white squig would slay the beast in one fell swoop. This would turn the tide, and what should have been an easy victory for the War Master turned into another defeat. Fearing what would occur if the War Master failed the capture of the planet, he turned to more desperate means. Using the warp weapons, he was able to call in a Tyranid force which the archenemy would use to soften the Imperials' forces before they continued their attack. The Tyranids would be deployed right on the city's supply lines located in the plains of Argo. The 19th Legion of the Raven Guard would be there to meet them. Knowing how important the supply lines were for the city, they would hold out for as long as they could in order to prevent the swarm from advancing. The Astartes were well bunkered down and were in a good position to succeed if it weren't for the advanced coating on the Von Ryan Leapers, which allowed them to absorb a lot more of the firepower than the Raven Guard were expecting, causing the alien to overrun the central bridge far quicker than anticipated. The Raven Guard captain would bravely meet the enemy head-on, and even on the brink of death would continue to fight to slow down the Tyranid swarm. However, it would prove futile, as within days they were overrun and the supply lines were lost. With the ruins of the Final Assurance now on the planet's surface, the Imperial's War Council saw this as an opportunity to gather as much evidence as possible to the weapon's origin. Perhaps it could be reversed engineered. This task would be given to none other than the First Legion's Primarch Lionel Johnson himself, who would take an elite force from his Deathwing to infiltrate the wreckage. What the Lion would find, however, was the Master of Shadows waiting for him. Lion and Be'lakor would meet in glorious combat. Victory would mean the weapon's secrets would be his, but defeat could mean they are lost forever. They would fight furiously until Lion's Deathwing Terminators arrived via teleportation to assist. The chaotic powers within the ship proved too strong, and with a devastating attack, Be'lakor slayed the Terminator squad. Lion was able to cut down many of the overwhelming hordes of crone demons, but the onslaught proved too much, and he had to fall back to fight another day. Finally, General Yarrick and the War Master would meet in the frozen wastes of the planet's northern hemisphere. The War Master's Titans almost proved too much for General Yarrick at first as they phased through the terrain of the ice rigs, catching him and his men off guard. Yarrick would regain his strength, however, and was able to grievously wound the War Master's Titan itself with some well-targeted fire from his strategically placed Lehman Russes. The casualties from both sides were severe, and both armies had to flee to regain their strength. These battles raged on for months, but with the conclusion of Yarrick and the War Master's battle in the north, this will bring us to the end of the dawn of war. We now reach its dusk, and with it, Mortarion arrives. The war effort was going slower than the traitor Primarch desired, so he would move to the final steps of the invasion. First, he would command the War Master to go to the final assurance wreckage to set it to self-destruct. The reasons why are still unknown to us. Perhaps the weapons was one use only, or the technology hidden within the Space Hulk could allow us to create similar weapons for ourselves. Unknown to General Yarrick. The AdMech traveled to the wreckage with the desire to uncover the secrets for themselves. Carnage ensued when the two forces met, and it seemed no matter what the Adeptus Mechanicus threw at the War Titan, all of it would be torn to shreds by the Titan's war dogs. It seemed that the War Master might have been successful in eliminating the AdMech and then destroying the wreckage if it weren't for the heavy breaches lying in wait, which would lead a successful counter-assault. With that, the tide was turned, and the secrets now with the AdMech. From the time of writing, we have been unable to meet with the AdMech to discover what they found, as their whereabouts are currently unknown, as the cult left the planet shortly afterward. The Shadow Prince Be'lakor now entered the forest to see it burn, aiming to succeed where the Nurgle detachment failed. The Raven Guard, however, were well aware of the Demon Prince's plan and would lay a trap for him. The ambush was brutal, and with the help of the Mach cannons firing from the city at the Demon Horde, the Astartes were able to send Be'lakor back to the Void. The war cries of the Adeptus Astartes could even be heard over the heavy cannon fire, which would surely even shake a demon's resolve. What seemed to be a successful assault turned to grief, however, as the Bloodthirster accompanying Be'lakor went into a furious rage as he slaughtered and trampled the remainder of the Space Marine Legion. Unable to slay the beast, Formid's great forest would burn. The Tyrannid swarm and the Orc war tribe would meet in their collision course in the city of Beltor itself. The two armies had now gotten so big and powerful that it seemed only they could stop each other. The immovable object would meet the unstoppable force. The Tyrannid swarm was clever and would adapt very quickly to the Orcs' simple tactics, effectively holding Modzrog, their war chief, back, preventing him from being effective in the battle. The Tyrannid zoanthropes used their physic energy to destroy the Orcs' heavy armor before it could get into effective range, and overall it would have seemed that the war tribe would lose this battle. However, due to the skirmishes prior. The Orcs that remained in the war tribe were a lot tougher and fearsome, and even the Tyrannid beasts would not stop the green tide from pushing forward. The two armies would fight each other to a standstill, with the Orcs claiming a very minor victory. Maybe thankfully so, as this would see the end of the Orc War, to which they would leave the planet shortly after, to which their location is currently unknown. The Lion would make a final stand in the frozen wastes against the Nurgle demons who sought to infect the water supply. A mighty battle took place with the Demon Prince facing Lion head-on, surviving wounds that should otherwise be mortal. Even with Lion's elite Deathwing, the Nurgle powers appeared to be too much to handle. This was where the Lion and his faithful would make their final stand. Lion's status is still unclear to us, but what we do know is that the ice rigs were lost, and that the Nurgle forces were successful in taking them, and with that, the planet would soon fall. And if the Primarch truly has fallen, this could very well spell doom to us all. And with this, Mortarion would meet General Yarrick in the plains of Arbor, where the Imperial Guard would make their ultimate sacrifice. Even though it was inevitable the planet would fall, Yarrick knew the value of slaying the traitor Primarch here and now, and even with the loss of the planet, they could gain a valuable victory for the Imperium. Yarrick set up a tank line to bombard Mortarion with explosive shell after explosive shell. However, After the haze from the explosive subsided, Mortarion still stood, wounded but very much alive. Now, Inquisitor, I speak to you directly. We both are well aware of the propaganda we spread throughout the Imperium, how the Guard will march bravely into the jaws of deaths, or even that the planet fell before the Guard did. Well, in this case, the stories are true, when the ammunition ran dry and the Demon Prince was upon them. The men and women under Yarek's command grabbed whatever weapon they could muster and charged into the Primarch as a last-ditch effort to defend their planet, to defend the Imperium. As commendable the counter-assault was, it was not enough, and the Imperial Guard fell that day. Formid is lost, and though the forces of the Imperium fought bravely, we have lost again to the arch-enemy. Learn from these accounts, go out and find the secrets of the final assurance, as we will face our enemy again. And next time, we will be ready